This video will give you an overview of a new base masking technique that I'll be using from now on. I recently had a snowboard that I had taken to a shop for a base grind, and in the process they overground the base of the snowboard, and over the course of the season my edges started actually breaking through the base because it was ground so thin. So I'd like to get to a point where I can have snowboards that either don't need a base grind or need a very minimal base grind, and I think I can do that by preventing epoxy from getting on the base. That way there's not as much of a need to really grind that base down, and that's really the whole purpose behind why I want to move to masking my bases. It also occurred to me that I had the perfect material to mask my base since I'm already masking my top sheet. So what I'm using here is the same vinyl sticker I normally use to mask my top sheet, but in this case I'm using it to mask my base. The first step I take is to unroll the vinyl across the length of my base material and then cut it to length. Next, I want to slit the backing material down the middle, but I want to do this carefully because I don't want to actually cut the top layer of the actual vinyl sticker. I want to be sure I only cut the backing material. The reason I do this is because I want to start applying the sticker from the center of the base. This will prevent me from veering off course, which is a lot easier to do if you're starting at one end of the snowboard versus starting right in the middle. So now that my backing material is slit, I'm going to set the vinyl sticker so that it is aligned properly over the base material, and then I'll start to peel away the backing material from the center and slowly move along, rubbing it from the top as I go to prevent any air bubbles from getting in between the sticker and the base, and then just using a rubbing motion to steadily work the sticker material onto the base so that there are no bubbles. And as I rub along this material, the backing material sort of rolls itself out from underneath, as you see here in fast forward mode. After doing one half of the base, I turn around and do the same thing for the other half of the base. Again, I just slightly lift the backing material and then use the rubbing motion to work that material out so that there are no air bubbles as I work it through. So you've got a better perspective from here as you see me working that material out as I go with the rubbing. Now I'm basically doing a rough cut of the vinyl material with my thumbnail. There's a lot of tension right at the edges here because it's going from sticking to my mold onto the base, and within that gap it's very easy to essentially break the material all along the edge. There are some points where it sticks, so I use an X-Acto knife to just pop it off, but once I've done this, I'll pull out the base and then get a lot more precise with the X-Acto knife as I work the excess material out from around the edge of the base material. Before I do that, I'll go ahead and clean up my mold here by peeling off the excess sticker material just to get it out of the way. And now I start running the X-Acto knife along the edge to get any excess material that was still hanging on from my imprecise cutout with my thumbnail. Now I do this prior to sticking the edges on, because in the process of sticking the edges on I use super glue, and sometimes that glue can also leak onto the base, so I'd like to have that protected, so I apply the sticker to my base before I apply edges, and then I apply edges after that. So what you're seeing now is me pulling my cured snowboard plank out of my snowboard mold. So I've already gone through the entire process of wet layup and core molding, and including the inserts and all of that. And just because this video is focusing on the base and masking the base, and what you see here is my masked base with my edges attached as part of my cured snowboard plank. And in this next clip, I've cut it out and I'm now pulling off that same masking material I've used on the base. I also use on the top sheet, so I'm pulling that away. And then we'll go ahead and move to the base of the snowboard, which I also have masked. So in this case I'm using an X-Acto knife to get under there, and I'm basically pulling this material off just like I pulled off the top material. And I'm quite pleased with the results actually. It's looking really good. It's a nice smooth base, and it did its job of protecting the base from getting any epoxy or super glue on it. The only places where I have epoxy and super glue are on the edges, and that'll be easy to get off with some scraping with the X-Acto knife and a little bit of filing, and I should be good to go. So now this snowboard is essentially snow ready for a not too picky wax, but if you still want great wax absorption, you can still go ahead and take your board in for a base grind. But now the board does not need to be ground to be cleaned up. It just needs to be ground to prepare it for taking the wax. So you still achieve what I was trying to achieve, which is preventing base grinds from getting too thin and potentially ruining your homemade snowboard.